Hello, this is Billy Joe Saunders, WBO middleweight champion of the world. Subscribe to Sporting Icons to stay in touch with all the top news. God bless you all.
You know what, it does appear that for the most part, whenever I click on a video, whether it be about Triple G, Canelo, Charlo's, Daniel Jacobs, Derevchenko, whatever it may be, if Billy Joe Saunders seems to be mentioned in these videos, they seem to put a negative spin on Billy Joe. Now, for us in the UK, a lot of people like him, a lot of people don't like him. For those who don't like him, it's not necessarily because of his record, his resume. It's because it's a personality thing. Some people just don't like Billy Joe Saunders. They don't like Travellers. They don't like the way he conducts himself. For me, I find him amusing. I like him. Okay? But a lot of people will put down Billy Joe purely based on a personal level without really looking at the resume. And to go back to the point where a lot of these channels are talking about Triple G and Billy Joe and Jermall Charlo and all this kind of thing, and it's like they keep on negatively jibing at Billy Joe, and I'm a little tired of it, to be honest. And these channels do predominantly be outside the UK, in the States. Now, not all of them, of course. You know, Billy Joe does have fans in the States. I'm not saying that he doesn't. So, you know, if you hear something in this video, which, you know, if I say Americans, I'm not saying all, okay? I'm not classifying all, but I'm saying that a select few channels out there seem to put down Billy Joe Saunders and yet hype Jermall Charlo as the next big thing, like a guy who has been there, done it and achieved. But, now see, I don't dislike Jermall Charlo. I like him. He could be the real deal. He could go on and unify and become undisputed and dominate the 160-pound middleweight division. He could do that, right? I don't know if he can as of right now, which is the point of almost the backbone of this video, where these people will support and say how Jermall Charlo is avoided, and they call Billy Joe Saunders Billy Ho Saunders, and you know, what's he done, and I don't get it. Truly, I don't get it. You have patriotism, fair enough. You support Charlo, and you're quite within your rights to do so. But don't pour cold water on Billy Joe Saunders and his resume just because either A, you don't like him, or B, you don't know who it is that he fought. Because again, a little bit of a newsflash for you, just because some fights and some fighters don't fight in America do not mean because you don't know them that they are trash. The center of the universe is not the United States of America within the boxing world. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. Okay? Now, if you look at the resume of Jermall Charlo, it's not very good. To be perfectly honest, as I said, I don't want to criticize Jermall Charlo. I do like him. But in comparisons, if you were to weigh up the resumes, and I challenge anybody to do a counteraction to this video, make your own video and prove me wrong, where I say Billy Joe Saunders' resume far exceeds Jermall Charlo. It does, it really does. Now, Jermall Charlo, he's predominantly a 154-pound fighter. That's pretty much what he's been. That's been his career so far. And he has a decent resume, and I am being a bit generous with it. He's undefeated. He's got a pretty high knockout ratio. He's at over 80%, I think it is. And he's got a couple of good names on his resume. Nobody on there that makes you go, ooh, that's a good name. Now, the reason that I'm saying name is because we're talking worldwide, not just United States here. We're talking worldwide known. And I'm going to show you exactly what it is I'm talking about. If you just briefly look at Jermall, know who he's beaten. Okay, so he beat Cornelius Bundrage for the IBF 154-pound title. Okay, the super welterweight title. And congratulations to him for winning that. You know, he beat him within 3 rounds. He stopped him, which is impressive, right? To win the IBF world title for your first title. That's pretty good. But if you look at before then, like, you know, what's he done? He didn't win a single title. Nothing. Not even an area title, according to BoxRec. Nothing whatsoever. Now again, I don't want to pour cold water on him too much because he is a decent fighter, and I said he could go on to be the next best thing. So, and again, this video isn't about who would win between Billy Joe and Jermall. personally, I think Billy Joe would school him. But ultimately, until this fight happens, I don't know, nor do you. Everything is pure speculation. So he wins the title, okay, great. But the guy that he beat the title for had already lost 5 times. He did win 34, which again is pretty good to win 34 fights. You're not really a bum if you can win 34 fights. Okay, you might have been fighting bums, but ultimately you're not. And it was for the title, but this guy did lose 5 titles. So again, nothing great. His first defence was against Wilkie Comfort. Again, he did knock him out, so great. But again, not a great fight. Not a great fighter even. But you know what? We can give him that one. Okay, because he was 21-1 at that time. So again, not bad. Then arguably, and I do say arguably, the best name on his resume, Austin Trout, who'd already lost twice up to that point. And some people say that Trout actually won that fight. I disagree with that part myself, but some people believe that Austin Trout won that fight. But Austin Trout, while he's a decent name, not the best fighter in the world. Let's be honest. He's consistent at losing. He's consistent at coming second. He's consistent of being almost there. That's what Austin Trout is. And again, I don't want to disrespect Austin Trout, but that's what it is. Now, quite an impressive win, I will give him it, in Julian Williams, where he knocked him out in 5 rounds. And he did knock him down once in round 2 and twice in round 5. Ultimately stopped him in round 5. So again, impressive. And Julian Williams was 22-0 with 1 draw at that point. So that's not bad. Not brilliant, but not bad. And then he vacates his IBF 154-pound title, moves up to 160-pound. And here comes the issue. People say that Triple G is ducking Charlo. People say that Billy Joe is ducking Charlo. Everybody's ducking Charlo. On what planet is anybody ducking Charlo? What's he done that would make people want to duck him? Didn't he duck Demetrius Andrade? Didn't he do that? I mean, I don't know the full details of it. I just remember Andrade confronting him and his brother. And neither one of them wanted anything to do with him. Maybe there's other things around it, so I'm not going to hold them to it. But either way, 160-pound is where the issue is, which is where a lot of the people saying that Billy Joe is trash. But yet Jermall Charlo is something special. So let's look at 160-pound. His first debut fight was against George Sebastian Highland, who had already lost 4 fights and drawn twice. And he came to the ring on 1 leg. He couldn't walk properly, never mind fight, and it took him 4 rounds to get him out of there. Not really impressive. Then his last fight, so he's actually only had 2 fights at 160. So his last fight was against Hugo Santana Jr. Not a bad fighter, not bad, but nothing stellar, nothing brilliant, nothing that makes you go, ooh, that's a good name. I mean, Santana Jr. had already lost, but again, Charlo did very, very impressive, and I was impressed in that fight with him. He breathed him out in 2 rounds. So again, that was pretty good. But if you look at his resume, as I said, nothing stands out. The biggest name on his resume is Austin Trout. He's a whooping boy for the top guys, is what he is. And that's keeping it real. But yeah, if you look over at Billy Joe Saunders, again, because a lot of you guys, if you really want to criticise Billy Joe, at least know who it is that he's been in there with to criticise him. Don't base it on personality, base it on his record. If you think that Charlo is a big scary guy, even though he's done bugger all, in reality, he won the IBF world title, 154-pound, okay, good. Not exactly a stacked division, let's be real. He didn't exactly get in there with Cotto or Canelo or anybody of any great standing at 154. Never won an area title, never did anything. Billy Joe Saunders, former Commonwealth champion, former British champion, former European champion, current world champion. Former Olympian as well. Didn't do very well in the Olympics, but still, he was, he was on the Olympic squad. But either way, again, it's like people in America, because they don't know too much about maybe the British title or the Commonwealth. They'll think that they're nothing titles, they're nothing, they give them out like sweets. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. You do have to be pretty good to become that champion. Sometimes people do get an easy path to get these belts. I'm not going to say that they don't. Some people get shots at these belts, and to be honest, they don't really deserve them. But that happens the world over, even for world titles. Many people have been challenging for world titles who didn't necessarily deserve that shot. But still, winning the Commonwealth and winning a British title is a very, very good achievement. A lot of boxers here in the UK and within the Commonwealth aim for these titles. That is a career achievement for them. Okay? Billy Joe Saunders won the Commonwealth, the British and the European and the world title. So just that bit alone pisses all over Jermall Charlo's record. Just those achievements there. Granted, you guys don't have the British or the Commonwealth. Of course you don't. Maybe you should have the Commonwealth, but hey ho, that's another one. And yes, I'm joking. So let's have a quick look at Billy Joe Saunders' resume. We'll go through it pretty quick. Again, if you people who are criticising Billy Joe's record and bigging up Jermall, then surely you must know what it is that you're looking at Billy Joe Saunders' record. Not the biggest puncher in the world, not exactly a great knockout artist. In fact, he's probably got, what, 30-40% knockout ratio. Not great, but he relies on speed with his hands and his feet. And he's very, very elusive, very difficult to hit. Okay? Now, again, this isn't to say who would win between the two. Not at all, okay? I'm not saying who wins. This is purely about record. For those who criticise Billy Joe Saunders' record. And again, when I mention these names, if you don't know who they are, if you haven't heard of them, much like when you look at Jermall Charlo's record, probably for most people, only ever heard of Austin Trout. Outside of that, haven't heard of anybody else. That's the truth of it, right? But yet, you should know, when you're criticising Billy Joe Saunders' record, who it is that I'm talking about. Nick Blackwell, at the time, he was 12-1, and he won the British middleweight title and defended his Commonwealth title against Nick Blackwell. He beat him over 12 rounds. Nick Blackwell, a very, very good fighter. A lot of people may actually know him as being, well, actually his last fight before he had to retire was against Chris Eubank Jr., where Chris Eubank Jr. was peppering him that much that he got put into an induced coma. And of course, he hasn't fought since, and tried to get back into boxing, did a little bit of sparring, got put back into a coma again. Nick Blackwell, very, very tough guy. Another name on Billy Joe Saunders' resume that far exceeds anything that Jermall Charlo's done. Gary Spike O'Sullivan. Some people may disagree with me on that one. For me, you know him, yes? Why do you know him? If he's trash, as some people call him, why do you know his name? If he's trash. He's only ever lost twice in his career, and the first time was Billy Joe Saunders. Yes, Billy Joe Saunders took him on when he was undefeated, 16-0. And this was for the vacant WBO International Middleweight Championship. He was undefeated. He defeated Gary Spike O'Sullivan on points. Straight after then, another undefeated guy, again, very, very popular, very, very good, very, very tough. Much like Gary Spike O'Sullivan in John Ryder. John Ryder is solid. Proper solid. You may not know him in the States. Again, you should know him. If you're going to criticise Billy Joe Saunders' record, you should know who John Ryder is. And if you know who he is, again, you will agree with me that he is a very, very good fighter. Very, very good fighter. As is Spike O'Sullivan. John Ryder was undefeated, 15-0 at the time. Billy Joe Saunders beat him on points. As I said, not the biggest puncher in the world, but still. So then straight after then, third on the bounce, undefeated fighter in Emmanuel Feliz Bladumara, 22-0. Billy Joe Saunders gets hurt early in that fight. He gets a cut over the left eye, which again could end up stopping a fight, but he carries on, he soldiers on and stops Blandamura in that 8th round, a 22-0 guy. So that is 3 undefeated fighters on the bounce. But he didn't just sit back and take a nobody fight. No. Chris Eubank Jr. undefeated, so that's 4 undefeated on the bounce. Chris Eubank Jr. 18-0 at the time. This was for the Commonwealth and the European middleweight title. And he beats Chris Eubank Jr. Could Jermall Charlo beat Chris Eubank Jr.? Your automatic reaction, because you might be a fanboy of Charlo, go, yeah, of course you can, easy work. I would place £100 bet with you right now. If Jermall Charlo and Chris Eubank Jr. fought, Chris Eubank Jr. would beat him. Straight up, he would beat him. But anyway, he beats Chris Eubank Jr., beats him on points. He beat him over like the first half of the fight quite comfortably. Second half of the fight, he was struggling a bit, where he was just keeping Chris Eubank Jr. off of him, which is a skill in itself. To keep Chris Eubank Jr. off of you is a skill in itself. Now, straight after then, you could probably argue, yes, not a very good fight. The one after that, where he beat Johan Bloyer. Not a great name, no doubt about it. 17 wins, 27 losses. So he's gone from 4 undefeated fighters to fighting this guy. Hey, what can you do? But either way, he then takes on Andy Lee. You've heard of Andy Lee, yes? Andy Lee is a quality fighter, or he was. He's currently retired now. But he was a quality fighter, and this was for the world title, the WBO World Middleweight title. Andy Lee. Billy Joe Saunders drops him twice in round number 3 and beats him by majority decision. Should have been unanimous, in my opinion. But, doesn't matter, he gets the win over Andy Lee. Again, Andy Lee is a much better name than an Austin Trout. Now, he did take a year off after then, and again, this is where a lot of his criticism comes from, where he was inactive for a whole year. He was world champion, wasn't defending the title, and didn't really do anything. He did try and have a couple of fights here and there, and even he was getting frustrated with Frank Warren. The fact that Frank Warren isn't delivering, his management team are not delivering a fight for him. He was supposed to be on the Liam Smith and Canelo undercard, if I remember rightly. I'm going on memory on that one, where I believe he spoke about where he could have been fighting Gabriel Rosado. Again, a name that you all know, may not rate him very highly, but still, you know him, right? But all these things didn't happen. He was injured for like a lot of the time. Things happen. He did get lazy. Let's not hide behind it. He did fall out of level boxing. He did put on a lot of weight. A lot of this was his own doing, but a lot of it wasn't, because he was injured as well. So anyway, he takes a fight after 1 year against Arthur Akavov. He was 16-1, and some people say that Akavov should have won that fight. Billy Joe Saunders just didn't perform. But remember, on that night, Tibbs wasn't in his corner. He didn't have a trainer that he knows very, very well. Because the day before the fight, or the day on the fight, they had a falling out. So he didn't have a trainer in his corner. I believe Ben Davison, who's currently Tyson Fury's trainer, who was unknown at the time, I believe that he stepped in for him to help out Billy Joe. Didn't perform very well at all. But either way, after a year out of being, let's be honest, damn right lazy, he ekes out the win. So he does get the win. But then he takes on, again, a name that you all know, William Monroe Jr., 21-2. Not the best fighter in the world, but still very durable, very skillful, very, very technical. Southpaw, very difficult fight. Triple G had a little bit of trouble with him. Not trouble that he may have lost a fight, not at all, because Triple G did get him out of there. Billy Joe didn't get him out of there. Not the most exciting fight in the world, but still a name that you all know. Billy Joe beats him by unanimous decision. Again, I do agree with some people where Billy Joe was using dirty tactics, especially on the build-up, allowing his son to punch him in the nuts at the weigh-in or whatever. Yes, that was literally, pardon the pun, below the belt. I agree, but still, just look at the resume. That is a decent name on the resume. William Monroe Jr. is a better name than Austin Trout, let's be real. And then his last fight, David Lemieux. Again, he's known for a big punch, concussive knockout artist. Billy Joe went to Canada to fight him. Has Jermall Charlo left the United States? He may have done, I don't know. But Billy Joe took his title on the road to Canada, to David Lemieux's backyard, and schooled him every single round. I don't even recall David Lemieux landing too much on him within the whole fight, other than the odd glancing shot here and there. The odd one that may have just clipped the side of his head or his shoulder. That was a masterful, perfect performance. So that was actually his last fight. So if you just look at his resume, it's quality. His last fight, which was cancelled due to injury, whether you believe him or whether you don't, It's on record that he was injured on 2 occasions, which is why the fight didn't happen against Martin Murray. Guess what? You've all heard of Martin Murray, right? That would have been another name on the resume that you've all heard of. Next fight, Demetrius Andrade. You all know him, undefeated, former 154-pound fighter who tried to fight Jermall Charlo. Again, I don't know the full story. Maybe he ducked them, in truth. I don't know. But it's a quality name. There is going to be a bit of conflict because Billy Joe is with Frank Warren and Andrade is now with Eddie Hearn. Where does this fight happen? Purse bids. Will Billy Joe end up vacating the title due to Frank Warren telling him to? Don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But either way, if he beats Demetrius Andrade, again, that's another name on the resume. You stack up the resumes side by side. Billy Joe and Jermall Charlo. I like Jermall Charlo, but let's be real. Stack up the resumes. Who has done more? Who has a better resume? And I mean by a landslide. It's not even close. You may argue it's close for some things, but ultimately, like I said, just because maybe you don't know some of the names that Billy Joe fought, well, now you do. But if you didn't know them, if you didn't know Spike O'Sullivan, if you didn't know Andy Lee, if you didn't know Chris Eubank Jr., William Monroe Jr., David Lemieux, if you didn't know these people, then why are you even talking about Billy Joe Saunders' resume as it's trash? And Jermall Charlo is this big scary guy. Just think about it. Resume side by side, Billy Joe Saunders far exceeds anything that Jermall Charlo has done. And that's not a criticism of Charlo. Well, it kind of is, but it's not a criticism going forward. We've yet to see anything from Charlo that makes us go, wow, he is the real deal. You're being biased because he's American. You're American. That's fine. I have no issues with that at all. Maybe you believe he'll beat Billy Joe. Maybe. Don't know. But don't call Billy Joe Saunders' resume trash when you've got Charlo's resume. It's awful. It's gutterland is what it is compared to Billy Joe. So anyway, that's my thoughts. You let me know yours. Drop them below. Click that thumbs up. Subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.